million people in the world trying to get it together. Smile on your face even though your heart is pounding. But hey now, hey no girl, we both know what you grew up. But I will take my chances. As long as you love me, we can.
Jamen shorty baller, shorty ball, jamen shorty baller, selv andre tøser savler. Jamen shorty baller, shorty ball, jamen shorty baller, selv andre tøser savler. Jamen shorty baller, shorty ball, jamen shorty baller, selv andre tøser savler.
Booty collar, hammer, sunny collar, and again, shorty dances on the table, make me hot tonight, baby. Oh, yes, see them booty moving high, sorry collar, and yeah, we collar, and sorry collar, and since you're so collar, and yeah, we collar, and the booty night, push that beat.
Forældre siger, giv mig ikke lege med Ole. Han er bare en slem fyr, der aldrig går i skole. Det er det samme, alle vores forældre siger. Ikke lege med Ole, tænker kun på druk og piger. Han drikker bajer, han sniffer lighter og gas. Og når han rigtig hygger sig, så ryger han hash.
Oh, I just wanna take you anywhere that you like. We could go out any day, any night. Baby, I'll take you there, take you there. Baby, I'll take you there, yeah. Oh, tell me how to turn it on. You can get anything that you want. Baby, just shout it out, baby, just shout it out, yeah. And if you want me to, let's make a move. Tell me, girl, if every time we touch, you get this kind of rush, baby, say yeah, 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 yeah. Chef er de bedste. Chef Records.
For jeg har drukket til jeg sejlede, ikke set mig selv i spejlet. Fuck om jeg har fejlet, jeg har det ligesom Fetterlein. Jeg har det ligesom Fetterlein. Ligesom Fetterlein, 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 ligesom Fetterlein. Jeg har det ligesom Fetterlein.
En fest, der oplevelser